Chapter 4154. Second More. Imprint of Origin. King Zhenan Qing Shuzi, and others looked all the same. The King of Nine Dragons was eager to flee, and he could completely clear out those poisons in the first place. I can find his existence based on this original imprint, but if you continue to grind, wait for King Nine, all the poison was removed, and my original mark was completely erased. Then I could not find him again. Yinpeng dominated. After listening to Yinpeng's dominion, King Zhenan, Qing Shuzi, and the five blood gods all brightened his eyes immediately. Very well, let's kill it now. This time, the power of our four is assembled, and I don't believe King Jiuzai will not die. King Zhenan pulled a sneer in hate. The five blood stunners looked at each other, nodded and spit out a sentence. The supreme divine potion belongs to me, and the 9 calamities to you, Qing Shuzi said with a complexion. I can disregard the supreme potion and the king of 9 calamities, but the sword is unparalleled, and I want him to die. Qing Zizi's original goal was that of the magic drug, but just after the battle with Jian Wushuang, he became a shame in his life. He could not tolerate this shame to continue to live in this world. So compared to that magic medicine, he now wants to slay the sword unparalleled. And Yinpeng dominated the sight, and there was a hint of yin and pleasure in his eyes. These major forces reached an agreement in an instant. Even under the leadership of Yinpeng, they left directly and went to the place where Jiu Jiawang, Jian Wushuang, and Qing Feng disappeared. As for the many masters around Fengyang Canyon, seeing that the protagonists in this battle have already left, they have also left. Of course, they all know that the battle for the magic drug is not over yet. After all, the king of Zhenan has caught up with them. As for the final result, I don't know. However, the war that erupted in Fengyang Gorge alone was enough to make them talk. First of all, it is naturally the strength of the King of 9 calamities. The King of 9 dragons can have such a great reputation in the universe, and is considered by many to be the first person to dominate it. After this battle, it has been fully confirmed. The king of the south of the town is also an invincible power in the ultimate domination. In addition, there are several armors around him. They are also the top ultimate dominators. As a result, they were defeated by the 9 kings. Alone, this kind of strength has completely gone beyond the scope of domination. It is rumored that the king of 9 calamities has the supreme combat power, and it really is true. In addition, there was the battle between Qing Shuzi and Jian Wushuang, which shocked everyone. No one had thought that the innocent King Shuzi, who could be called invincible, was actually comparable to a 4th-ranked dominator. Although so far, they do not know the name of the 4th-ranking dominator, but the 4th-ranking dominator has been deeply remembered by everyone present. On a mountain, the 3 men of swordsmanship stopped temporarily. Among the 3, Jian Wushuang is the easiest. He fought with Qing Shuzi. Although he has performed a lot of magical powers by using dragon demystification, don't forget that he now has a body with a height of 68,000 miles. It's unbelievable that burning of this divine power is nothing to him at all. It can be said that there was no loss in the battle with Qing Shuzi. The Qingfeng prince was a bit miserable. At the same time, he faced the attack of the 5 blood ambassadors at the same time, struggling to do his best, but he only supported hard. At the end, he lost a lot of divine power. The remaining divine power now less than 30%. As for the king of 9 calamities, he was mainly attacked by Yinpeng. Yinpeng, the king of Jiuzai, clenched his teeth, his fists clenched, his face was extremely gloomy. Chapter 4155. The first is more. This battle in Fengyang Gorge is quite risky, but fortunately we all got what we wanted. A sudden smile appeared on the face of King Jiujia. The magic potion is already in his hands. With this strain, he has some more opportunities to break through and become supreme. Well, let's go find a place to hide now. After I have completely cleared the venom out of my body, and restored my divine body and divine power to the peak, then I will continue to fight. King Jiujia rode. Jian Wushuang and Qing Feng looked nodded. When the 3 were about to find a hidden place, suddenly a cold laughter blew in the sky. Ha ha ha, King Jiujia. Where do you want to escape? King Jiujia and Jian Wushuang heard the words, and all of a sudden his face changed and quickly looked up. I saw King Jinan King Suzi. Impeng dominated above them. +5 blood emissaries. 8 ultimate masters of invincible level. Looking down at them with their hands and feet in the void. Why did they come so quickly? Qingfeng Shenhao's face suddenly became extremely ugly. As a matter of course, the ruins of Tailuo are so vast that it is impossible for these people to find them so quickly. Jian Wushuang and Jiu Jiawang looked at this scene, and their frowns could not help but frown. That's strange. After they left the Fengyang Canyon, they changed their directions dozens of times in succession, and deliberately avoided all the powerful people around them, and only came here. According to the truth, the king of Jinan and other people could not find them, even if they were supernatural. The location is right. But now, is it the venom inside me? The king of Jiujia sank, and immediately looked into his own body. Sure enough, there was a very vague mark in the part of the venom still in his body. This mark is completely fused with those venoms. Before the king of 9 calamities, he was wholeheartedly resisting the erosion of these venoms, and he did not notice the existence of this mark. Impeng, the king of Jiujia, raised his head, staring at Dominion Impeng with a flash of murder in his eyes. At this moment, his dominance against Dominion Impeng reached the point where it could not be added. How? King Jiujia, are you very angry now? Well, keep your anger. Next, I will keep you suffering in despair, and the pain you inflicted on me 3 million years ago. Ha 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 ha. Impeng dominated the king of Jiujia, and the corners of his mouth slowly opened, covering his face with a low laugh, and his waist was all bent. His eyes were full of crazy pleasure. 3 million years ago, his clan was all slaughtered by the king of 9 robbers, and only he was left to perform a secret technique, escaped from the hands of King 9 robbers, and recovered his life. The hatred of the Tus is not shared. 3 million years. He waited for this opportunity for 3 million years. You want to die? How arrogant is the king of 9 calamities? And how can he endure the humiliation that Impeng dominates? He immediately wants to get violent. Kill Impeng regardless of everything. And then quickly, just as he was about to rise into the sky, a hand suddenly rested on his shoulder, and he pressed it lightly. Don't hit him. He is deliberately seducing you to kill him. Jian Wushuang shook his head and said lightly. King Jiujia was stunned by his anger, but sword was unparalleled. Above them, Jinnan King and others have become prismatic, like a large net, completely sealing off the 3 of them. Once the king of 9 robbers rushed up and slaughtered with them, they would immediately fall into their nets. Although Jiujiawang is strong, there is still a strong poison in the body, which is not completely ruled out, and the divine power is greatly damaged. It is also very reluctant to fight against the 8 invincible masters. This battle cannot be fought, only flee. Jian Wushuang said in a voice. Jijiawang took a deep breath. He was not stupid. After this impulse, he naturally calmed down quickly. The sword is unparalleled. If we continue to be together, I will not be afraid, but you 2 are likely to be a drag on me. So I will directly cast a thought on the kingdom of God, and trap these 8 people. You and Qingfeng are waiting. Take the opportunity to leave. King Jiujia stared at Jinnan King, Xueming Shi, and others over the sky, and returned the message. Jian Wushuang nodded for a moment, then nodded. He has never been an arrogant person. Naturally, he can see that in this situation, although his state is still at its peak, he can no longer perform the trick of the primitive universe. If he fights with Qing Shuzi again, he will definitely not be Qing Shuzi. Their opponents, of course, relying on their own life-saving ability, and the incredible divine body and divine power. These people cannot kill him in front of them. However, Qingfeng Shenhao's condition is so bad that he can't help at all, and may even become a drag for the king of 9 calamities. Not as good as the 2 left directly. Then you take care of everything. Jian Wushuangdo. After hearing the words, King Jiujia smiled boldly at Jian Wushuang and said sternly, Rest assured that with these 8 people joining forces, I may not be an opponent, but in the world, if King Jiujia wants to leave, there is no one except Supreme can stay. This was his arrogance, and also the confidence of the first person to dominate the realm at that time. Jian Wushuang looked at Zhou Jiawang's smile on him, suddenly a little dumb. From the battle in Fengyang Gorge to the present, although he and King Jiucai did not make it clear, the two were already suffering. After all, before they entered the ruins of Tailuo, they were both confrontational. The sword is unparalleled. Qingfeng looks great, go. The next moment, I saw King Nine Calm's eyes condense, and a loud drink sounded loudly between heaven and earth. I missed the kingdom of God. Rumble. Suddenly, an unprecedented powerful breath centered on the king of the nine calamities, bursting away. This breath is completely different from the breath of the previous king of the nine kings. It is full of a sense of avenue and mystery. When this breath comes out, the entire Taro ruins seem to be unbearable, and it emits a kakaka sound similar to glass breaking. The dark black iron chains shot out from the void, covering the sky and forming a cold boundary, enclosing 8 people in that town. In that realm, the sky and the earth changed dramatically. Mountains and rivers stood tall. Mountains and rivers rushed, like a world of its own. This is a thought of the kingdom of God. How is it possible? The king of nine calamities has not yet broken through the supreme. How can it be possible to realize the thought of the kingdom of God? Even the supreme, it is only possible to master the kingdom of God once it reaches a certain level. The king of nine calamities has exerted his power to dominate the kingdom of God. King Zhenan, King Suzi, Wuming Wuxia Impeng dominated. At this moment, they all looked at each other in shock. Chapter 4156. Second more. At the thought of the kingdom of God, this trick is difficult to master even many supreme masters. And for the master, it is almost a luxury to realize this trick. But today the nine calamities king, who is the first master in the universe, not only possesses supreme combat power, he even has mastered the kingdom of God. How far is he from the true supreme? In the eyes of the 8 who were as appalling as ghosts, the king of nine kings laughed wildly, and his body was soaring into the sky. Jian Wushuang, live well. I will fight with you after you break through the ultimate master. I will not lose you again at that time. In midair, King Jiujia took a deep look at Jian Wushuang, then turned his eyes. Without any hesitation, he rushed towards the 8 people in Jinnan King without any hesitation. He froze with coldness and began to boil. Sure. The sword had no double focus, and then did not dare to delay, grabbing Qingfeng and looting away. Immediately, Jian Wushuang left the mountain and blasted towards a place in the ruins that no one had yet explored. At the same time, a battle broke out in the 9 gods of Zhejiawang. The battle has turned upside down and the sun and the moon have faded. After a joss stick, the kingdom of God collapsed every inch, and the king of 9 calamities disappeared. King of the 9 calamities has been injured by the 8 of us. We can't escape far chase. Xueming Wu made his face gloomy to the extreme. At this moment, their black robes were broken, and even the black moon sickle in their hands was broken by 3. Next moment, they swept away in one direction. The king of Zhenan, who had been seriously injured, became more serious. After taking an invaluable elixir, he looked at Yin Peng's master, and stepped on the same foot, and quickly followed. Of the 8, only King Suzi remained in place. His face was cold. His gaze was looking in the direction that Jian Wushuang had swept away before. His voice was cold. Sword Wushuang, I am not interested in the 9 kings of the calamity, but you, I said, Shang Por Bai Fel Huang Huang, I will kill you. You cannot escape. Too much forbidden surgery, God. Puff. King Suzi bit his tongue, and opened his mouth to spit out blood. Suddenly, the essence of blood was twisted and condensed in the air, but it turned into 3 small words, sword warriors. Gather. Qing Shuzi whispered in a low voice. Suddenly, the 3 scarlet character sword warriors suddenly collapsed, and turned into a scarlet sword. The point of the sword pointed to the southwest, and kept trembling. Qing Zizi's complexion was blue and white for a while, and he could see that this secret technique was equally costly to him. Southwest. Jian Wushuang, this time I see you die. Seeing this, King Suzi evoked a cold smile on the corner of his mouth, stepped hard, followed the sword, and quickly swept forward. Southwest at a high altitude. Jian Wushuang, carrying King Feng's spirits, was rushing, and suddenly, at the top of his head, countless blood condensed, forming a light arrow in the shape of a small sword. What is this? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. Looking at this blood-colored arrow, a kind of bad premonition appeared in his heart. Jian Wushuang fled. This is the forbidden technique of Taishi Temple. Qingfeng was very knowledgeable. He thought about it for a moment, and then recognized the arrow, and his face changed suddenly. God forbid surgery? Jian Wushuang heard the words, and there was a doubt in his eyes. Qingfeng Shunhe looked ugly, and replied, "This forbidden technique is one of the 5 major forbidden techniques of the Taishi Temple. These 300,000 sword qi was condensed by the sword power of 12,700 times, and the explosion caused by it is enough to be the ultimate master in seconds. This is the great surprise that Jian Wushuang prepared for Qing Shuzi." Chapter 415 Surprise, page 1/1. Bookmark for easy reading. Chapter 4159. The first is more. Rumble. There was a thunder between heaven and earth. These 300,000 swords are like the dragons of the world, and the snakes swallowing the sun, and they are severely chopped down towards the Qing Shuzi. Jian Wushuang. Qing Zizi's face changed for the first time, roaring loudly. "Huh!" The next moment, the 300,000 swords were hit Qing Shuzi. Dang 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 dang. Qing Shuzi raised his sword across, and the sharp sword gas hit his sword-stealing sword, making a sound of gold and iron and sparks. However, Qing Shuzi only resisted less than 100,000 sword qi, and the amazing cicada sword flew from his hands. Then more than 200,000 swords smashed into him without any hindrance. Like Wan Jian's heart, Qing Zizi's body shook like a sieve, making a dense muffled sound. After almost 3 breaths, the 300,000 swordsmanship completely disappeared. Jian Wushuang stared at this scene until Qing Zizi's body, like a rag bag, crossed a falling arc in the air, and hit the ground fiercely, and he was only slightly relieved. He believes that even if he is an invincible King Suzi in the ultimate domination, in the face of his strenuous effort and elaborate design, it will explode at a full strength of 13,000 times the strength of the divine power. And the magical power of the burning of the dragon destroys the magic to display 100,000 swordsmanship, is definitely not much better. Time flies. The place where Qing Shuzi fell raised huge smoke, but Jian Wushuang did not dare to take it lightly. After all, in addition to being the ultimate master of invincibility, Qing Shuzi was also the high prince of the universe, the top power 2 virtual temple. No one knows, the Taishi Temple sent him to Tailuo ruins this time, and prepared him what Xian Hole card. Ahem! Suddenly, there was a sound of coughing blood in the diffused smoke. Jian Wushuang's heart sank. Sure enough, the 300,000 sword qi was not enough to kill Qing Shuzi. The smoke gradually dispersed. I saw that the place where Qing Shuzi had fallen formed a huge pit that was 100 feet wide. Qing Shuzi stood up from the pit, and the whole man looked miserable. The white robe embroidered with the word Tai Su on his body was completely broken, hanging on his body like a rotten strip. His hair was spread out, and Zhang Jun's face was covered with blood. Indifferent to the appearance of a noble son, the wolf was trembling to the extreme. Sword. None. Double. King Suzi gasped with a big mouth and stared at Jian Wushuang, staring out the words Jian Wushuang from his teeth. Huh. He hooked his waist, slowly moving forward, and then grabbed the cicada Excalibur slanting in front of him. Like the evil spirit crawling out of Nine Yu Hell, a horrible resentment and hatred from him he burst out. How much hasn't the breath weakened? Jian looked at this scene without expressions on both sides, but sighed in his heart. I was so strenuous and exhausted my magical preparations. I thought that even if I could not kill Qing Shuzi, at least it could cause Qing Shuzi to be badly damaged. However, although the Qing Shuzi looks extremely embarrassed, the breath on his body did not weaken at all. After all, it's still too low. If he is not dominated by the 4th series, but has broken through to reach the 5th series, he believes that the move just now should be enough to make Qing Shuzi deadly. It's almost. I really planted it in the hands of a 4th level master. Qing Shuzi stared at Jian Wushuang with a pair of eyes, furious in his heart. At the same time, there was a hint of concealment. If it hadn't been for the Taishu temple this time before he came, he had given him a life-saving jade that was enough to withstand the power of dominating the limits. Maybe this time, he would really capsize in the gutter. The killing move just now killed 300,000 horrific swords and swords. A moment ago, Wu Xing's sword trembled hundreds of millions of times continuously. Under this tremor, the void seemed to tremble. Although this sword has not yet broken through to the level of the Supreme Divine Soldier, it has also reached the limit of the Supreme Rule of Treasures. When it comes to power, it is 1,000 times more powerful than before. Sword Warrior's pale on the strange face. A smile of satisfaction smirked, and a big wave of his hand immediately put the Wu weapon sword into the ring of heaven and earth. The next step is to elevate this body. A slight contemplation flickered in the eyes of Sword Warriors, and he turned the ring of Qingquan at will, and a fascination flashed on his face. Fruit of the rule of Chinese goods? Wait, is this 9-leaf sword grass? There was a smile of joy on the face of Jiang Wushuang. For him, a Taoist rule of Taoism is nothing. In the third-tier palace, there are more than one Taoist rule of Taoism, but the 9-leaf sword grass is different. 9-leaf sword grass, but the magic medicine of countless sword cultivation dreams. It contains the understanding of the origin of Kendo. It is the beginning of the chaos of the universe. The most primitive law of Kendo has an incredible magical effect for any sword practitioner. I didn't expect this junior to have such a chance, let alone. Then I will first improve the origin of the Kendo universe. Sword Wushuang swallowed the 9-leaf sword grass and the Chinese rule of Tao fruit, and started a new round promotion. At the same time, the Temple of Life, the supreme temple where Bloodwave Supreme is located. Presumptuous. The Bloodwave Supreme, who was closing her eyes, was suddenly opened, her face flashed with anger. Bloodwave, what happened? Beside him, the Great Axe frowned and asked. He is the best friend of dozens of chaos ages, and he has rarely seen such annoyance, and his heart is confused. Sword unparalleled, something happened. Bloodwave Supreme said slowly. What are you talking about? Jushin Supreme was shocked, but he knew how much Bloodwave Supreme valued, and looked forward to Jian Wushuang, even himself. A perfect life with such high talents and incredible potential. The Temple of Life has never been seen since its creation. I left the imprint of the shield on Sword Warrior's armor, and it was erased. Bloody Supreme's face was gloomy, and a trace of icy murderousness overflowed from his eyes. The giant axe heard a flash of light, and he knew the mark of the bodyguard that the blood wave had left in the swordless warframe. It can be said that with the mark, no one except the Supreme can hurt the sword unparalleled. This is why the Supreme Master of Blood Wave dared to let Jian Wushuang go to the terrestrial ruins in the realm of the 4th level. But now, the Supreme Blood Wave told him that the mark of the protector had been wiped away. What is that concept? In the ruins of Morfinatello, there is a supreme failure. Jian Wushuang beheaded the Star Master, and his expression did not change any emotions. He looked faintly at the distant heaven host. Escape! On the strength of the host that day, it was not as good as the Star Master. At this moment, when he saw that the Star Master was only under 2 swords, he was buried in the hands of Jian Wushuang. Or did he dare to have half the courage to fight? Suddenly, he quickly blasted away. Jian Wushuang's expression was calm, his toes were slightly lighter, and he swept across thousands of miles in an instant, appeared behind the host, and pointed into a sword, splitting his head toward the host. Jinnan King, come and save me. I have a big secret to tell. Before dying, the host exhausted all his strength and desperately shouted. The second is a little bit late, please forgive me. In the 10 feet of land around him, black sword-like swordsmen rose up, and then like a large net, densely intertwined to form a large black net ball. Sitting cross-legged warrior's sword is wrapped in it. Spring is coming and autumn is coming. The second year has passed. The color of this black ball became deeper and darker. And even darkness began to spread out, and everything around it was deprived of vitality. This was followed by the third year. Jian Wushuang didn't know when it was up, closed his eyes, and the land around him was turned into a cold and dead place shrouded in darkness. He was completely caught in the deepest level of enlightenment. At the center of his body, the 9-leaf sword grass with 7 leaves left was melting and consuming at a very fast rate, and then turned into the consciousness of Kendo, all absorbed by the sword unparalleled. 4th year, 5th year, 6th year. Towards the end of the 7th year, Jian Wushuang finally opened his eyes. Chapter 4171. Second more. At the moment when Jian Wushuang opened his eyes, with him as the center, the darkness of hundreds of miles was broken. One sword becomes a nation, the kingdom of eternal night. In the eyes of Jianwu, a black mang flashed. For 7 years, with the help of Jui Jianchao not fully absorbed, he finally realized the first kendo magical power of Tai Luo Jiandian, Yongyi. This sword goes far beyond the level of magical powers, and even subverts Jian Wushuang's understanding of kendo. Jian Wushuang never imagined that kendo could still be used in this way. Where is this sword? Definitely a thought of the kingdom of God, that can be realized only by the use and improvement of kendo. This sword is the most mysterious, most obscure, and most profound sword ever seen in the history of Jian Wushuang. Even with Jian Wushuang's talent for kendo, he has only participated in these 7 years. Realized some fur. It can be said that Jian Wushuang's achievements in kendo today have no way to fully comprehend this kendo magical power. This sword made the sword unparalleled, and I had to be amazed and admit it. That Taro Supreme is worthy of being able to crush the starry sky and shine the everlasting invincible Supreme Sword Warriors is unimaginable. At that time, the Supreme Master Tai Luo enlightened on kendo. How terrible did he reach in order to realize such a terrible sword? It is no wonder that the Tailor Supreme at that time can be crowned the invincible name of Kendo Supreme since ancient times. And until now, no one can deprive him of this title. For the first time, Jian Wushuang raised a sense of awe at the Tailor Supreme, who dominated the universe with his sword. This powerful Taro Supreme, plus a Taro Excalibur enough to destroy the stars, would be such a heroic shore in the universe at that time? But that's the case. He would be killed and fallen in this constant in the Yangxing domain. Even the kingdom of God was erased. Jian Wushuang sighed in disbelief. In these 7 years, the more he realized the sword of Yongyi, the more he felt the power of Tai Luo Supreme. That is definitely an invincible power, who can crush the ancients and make the stars surrender. But is such a strong man actually killed? This makes the sword unparalleled. And I can't help but feel my own smallness and the vastness of this vast universe. There is still a long way to go to practice. Jian Wushuang shook his head, no longer thinking about these things that are far from him. Counting it out, from entering the 2nd floor of the Terra Ruins to coming out of the Terra Ruins, plus these 7 years, more than 1,000 years have passed. I do indeed know what is happening to Qingfeng Shunhou and King Jiulong. Thinking of Qingfeng Shunhou and King Jiujia, Jian Wushuang smiled slightly. At first, in the Fengyang Gorge, the 3 men were chased by the king of Zhenan, the 5 blood ambassadors, and the master of Yinping in order to compete for the elixir that increased the chance of breakthrough. Escape, find your way. Today he is returning alive, but he does not know how they are doing. If you want to come, you should be fine. Even with the strength of King Jiucai, even if you can't defeat Zemingxi, Yinpeng and Zhenan King, these people should not kill him. As for Qingfeng, after leaving with me, no one is going to hunt him down, unless something unexpected happens. Otherwise nothing should happen. Stop asking someone to find out. Jian Wu's eyes flashed a thought. And now the greatest opportunity in the Taro Ruins has been obtained by him. His strength has also been greatly improved, so there is no need to stay. However, before leaving, how to say hello to the old people who came with the 2. Jian Wushuang was thinking suddenly, a few golden lights across the sky. 1 ultimate master, 3 masters of the 5th series. Jian Wushuang raised an eyebrow. with the birth of the Terra ruins more and more long, the opportunities in the Terra ruins are not limited to the ultimate master. And even the 5th level master has also come here. However, the ruins of Tailuo eventually dominated the whole world, and the lineup of this team in front of Tailuo is not enough to see, but it can be used to inquire about the news of King Jiulong and Qingfeng Shenhou. The next moment, Jian Wushuang turned over with his right hand and put on a wide black robe. The hood on the black robe stopped most of his face, revealing only his chin. Then he swept forward and came to the three in the sky, behind people. Some, where are you in such a hurry? Where are you going? Jian Wushuang smiled slightly. Of the four, the ultimate master is a veteran with a bitch, with a strong spirit, while the other two are masters of the 5th level, a young man and a woman. It is restrained, but there is a sense of excitement and curiosity in the eyes. How can I not hold back? It seems that it is following the ultimate master, who came to the descendants of the Terra ruins. Who is it? The old man Xuanzi was shocked, and when he looked back, Jian Jianshuang's breath was only the 4th level, and he could not help but relax his vigilance slightly. Immediately, a hint of doubt appeared under his eyes. This little friend, will you stop us? Jian Wushuang asked. Sir, do you know the 9 kings of the ruins? As soon as Jian Wushuang's voice fell, the old man had not spoken yet, and he saw the young girl behind him. His face flashed with excitement and replied, Coincidentally, is it possible that you went to the king of Jiulong? Jian Wushuang raised an eyebrow and smiled back. Why, did you go to King Juyao? Yeah, I heard that the king of 9 calamities is a power of 1 genus and 2 genus in this relic. We are planning to take refuge. The old sister-in-law glared at her with a blame and scolded. Xiao Qing, didn't the old man say, let you be careful in this ruin? Sister Sure, what do you say outside? The young man next to the girl said with a wry smile. The girl was so yelled at, and suddenly Zizi shrank her head and whispered, Master, I know. When the old man saw this, he nodded with a cold hum, then turned his eyes to look at Jian Wushuang, and faintly replied, Little friend, there is no secret. There are too many strong people in this ruin, and they kill and plunder. It is difficult for us to gain a foothold here, because of the strength of several of us. So I really plan to find a strong man as a backer. The old man and the younger friend, you are the 4th level master, and want to come in this Taro ruins. It is also difficult. If you also want to take refuge in King 9 calamities, you can go with us. Jian Wushuang heard it and smiled back. I'm thinking about it, so I'm in trouble. Anyway, the old man waved his hand indifferently. Immediately, the 4 men, Jian Wushuang and Xuanzi, swept away. Chapter 4172. Along the way, they were not fast, perhaps because Jian Wushuang was only the 4th level dominator. The 2 young and 3 people did not have much defense against him. Therefore, a few people were familiar with each other when they came to the place. Contacted. From the conversation, Jian Wushuang gradually learned the identities of the 3 men. The old man named Water Witch Master is a veteran ultimate master who has gone through dozens of chaos eras. He is also a top ultimate master in terms of strength. It is much stronger than the Star Master and Heaven Master. The young girl was his apprentice. The young girl was Rangu, and the young girl was Qingxi. These 3 people came from a lonely star field, and in that star field, they could be regarded as a party's overlord. But it was obviously not enough to put it in the Taro ruins. For them, this time to the Taro ruins, they can, although it is good to get the chance, even if it is not available, the Lord of the Water, which can bring his apprentices to the world. The Water Witch Master brought a total of 3 apprentices. However, just 100 years ago, his apprentice was tragically killed by a team of top powers in the ruins. Due to his own shortcomings, he intends to turn to the famous King of 9 calamities in this ruin. However, relying on Jian Wushuang's understanding of Jiujia Wang, these people's thoughts may be defeated. Blood swords, all forces in the relic now stand on their feet. Masters like you and us without any root background have no place at all. If you don't rely on some forces, it will only become increasingly difficult to survive. The young man named Rangu sighed. Perhaps it was because they saw Jian Wushuang alone, and they were not so high. So the young man named Rangu inevitably felt a little bit sorry for each other. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly, and did not refute, echoing back. The Lord Ranga said. After a moment of pause, Jian Wushuang spoke in front of him and asked, Rangu is the master. I came to the Terra ruins not long ago, and dare to ask what is happening in the ruins now. Lord Rangu heard and thought for a while, and replied, as the number of heavenly treasures in the ruins is getting less and less, the competition for heavenly treasures is becoming more and more fierce. Those who are strong alone are only alone. Unless some of them are extremely outrageous, it is already very difficult to survive in the ruins of Tai Luo. Now most of these independent powerhouses are united to form a side camp. There are a lot of these camps. At least they are the ultimate dominators with near invincible levels. But in general, the 5 ancient camps are still respected in this ancient monument. The 5 camps Sword squinted his eyes. He did not expect the millennium he disappeared. The speed of change in the Terra ruins was so fast that the competition for opportunities had reached a situation where parties needed to join forces to form a camp. Jian Wushuang did not know. All of this was actually related to his killing of Tai Luo Jianling. The heavenly earth treasures in the previous ruins appeared to be random. In fact, they were all intentional arrangements of Tai Luo Jianling. The purpose was to find the perfect object. Now that Tai Luo sword spirit was killed by him, naturally no new heavenly treasures will be born. The 5 camps are extremely powerful, and now the number 1 is headed by the Blood Temple. After the Battle of Fengyang Gorge for 1,000 years, the Blood Temple has sent 4 Blood Nether envoys again. At the ruins of Tai Luo, plus the previous 5 deities, there are 9 full deities. Under the joint of these 9 deities, it can be said that no one is an opponent in this relic. The second place is the Dafeng Kingdom of Gods, who came to the ruins of Tai Luo hundreds of years ago. It is led by the 3 princes of Dafeng Kingdom of Gods, the ultimate invincible king. Speaking of this great devotion to the kingdom of God, Rangu dominated an ingrained hatred under his eyes. The playful young girl Qingxi heard the words. Her face flashed a dim color, and her voice was slightly choked. Master was originally because he accidentally blocked the way to worship the kingdom of God, and was killed by the 3 princes. Jian Wushuang heard the words silently. The path of spiritual practice was cruel, especially in this Taro ruins. Without any rules and restrictions, the fall would only be more common. The water witch dominator who walked ahead didn't speak, but his fists clenched a little. The reason why he wanted to take refuge in the King of 9 Calamities and stay in the ruins was to have revenge, although it seemed that the hope was very slim. Taking a deep breath, Lord Rangu continued. The third place is the camp headed by King Jiuzai. King Jiuzai is recognized as the strongest master in the ruins. In theory, he can become a ruin in the ruins. The number 1 camp. Unfortunately, the king of the 9 kings is too arrogant and disdains to associate with others. Except that he has the ultimate master following what is called Qingfeng Shenhou. He hasn't received anyone yet, however. Recently I heard that King Jujia had plans to expand his power. And it is for this reason that master, and I have decided to trust him to try. There are 2 forces left, which is Yin Peng's and King Jinan of the Great Sun God Kingdom. Yin Peng's dominance is worse than the 9 kings and the 3 princes of Dafeng. But it is because of him. His own strength is not too bad, and he doesn't have much background. Therefore, many independent strong men in Tai Luo's ruins are more willing to join him. After all, the leaders of the previous camps are too aggressive. If you really get the chance against the sky, 80% will be obtained by those headed by Yinpeng, but Yinpeng's is different. Yinpeng's is the ultimate domination. Among them is not Xian. Joining him, he really got a good chance, and Yinpeng can't dominate it. He must be honest and share it with everyone. So this Yinpeng dominates many of the strong powers gathered under his hands now, and some of us also had the intention to rely on Yinpeng to dominate at the beginning, but he has too many under his hands. The strength of ours is not at all he sees it. As for King Jinan, it is said that under the Fengyang Gorge 1,000 years ago, the forces were greatly frustrated, and now they have been in the stage of forbearance, so it goes without saying. Jian Wushuang nodded when he heard the words, and heard the news that Qingfeng Shenhe was now with King Zhijia. He was relieved a little. I chatted a few more words and King's mood recovered. Chapter 4173. Second more. Bloodsword. Since you are with us now, we will definitely take care of you. The girl Qingxi patted Jian Wushuang's shoulder and sighed with a grin. But with your strength, join the 9 duanti even think about the King of Calamity, but people can be the first ultimate master in the entire universe. It is estimated that even if you want to expand the power and accept the master, that is also the ultimate master of my master. You are the 4th level master. I will definitely miss it. Sword warriors heard this. Some could not help laughing. But he also knows that this girl did not belittle what he meant. He replied unconvinced. You're right. Of course. Qingxi snorted quite contentedly after hearing the words, then seemed to be afraid of the sword without frustration, and quickly comforted and said, You don't have to worry. As long as you follow us obediently, my master will enter the 9 calamity camp will naturally protect us, and my teacher respects his elderly people best. Jian Wushuang heard the words, only found it interesting, and could not help but nodded. The master Wushui who walked ahead noticed this scene and stared at Qingxi. Xiaoqing, act with caution, act with caution. After speaking, Wushui dominated Xiang Jian Wushuang, and smiled softly. But you can know us. It is also a kind of good destiny. If the old man can really enter the King of the 9 calamity camp, it will be good to protect you at that time. No, that's the trouble water which dominate. Sword Unparalleled smiled, but it is a little sigh. Through his observations, 3 men are good, and the generation heart, which naturally does no good. But in this fight predatory Donatello remains. But it is not necessarily a good thing. Time slowly passed. After a few hours, Sword Unparalleled, water which dominate his party of 4, came to the ruins of the central region of Donatello. Little friends, there is the place where the King 9 robberies. Water which dominate pointed to a distant endless mountains. On that mountain, a huge repair the palace. Sword warriors everywhere you looked. I saw before the palace. There are many positive dominate DNY waiting, expression of apprehension, most of which are dominated by the ultimate master. Those dominated all 9 robberies king people? Sword Unparalleled looked back, puzzled asked. Water which dominate heard shook his head and replied. No, as we all want the same. Heard the news deliberately rushed over to take refuge in 9 robberies king. After all, in today's Donatello ruins killing too crazy. If its own power if you are not strong enough, you will not be able to establish a foothold if you do not rely on them. Come on, we have in the past. After the water which dominate he then took a sword unparalleled. Ran dominate the valley. The stream toward the palace snatched 3. Xuejian, we need to stand behind my master. Do not talk on the line. I have a master of all natural to deal with. Ran walked beside the sword unparalleled valley. Quietly reminded the sentence. Good. Sword unparalleled nodded his head, indicating understand. A moment later, for fell outside the palace. Just fall. They hear these ultimate dominate. The sound of a road to discuss pass over. You say, 9 robbery Wong suddenly expand their influence to dominate in the recruitment of the remains. What does this mean? I don't know. It may be that the King of 9 Dragons saw the 3 princes and Yinpeng dominate them. They are expanding their forces, and they have a sense of crisis? The King of 9 Calamities has always been arrogant. This time to recruit masters. I am afraid that the ultimate master who is idle he looks down on him.